Welcome to the Mettler-Toledo webinar on the digitalization of quality control laboratories in small and medium-sized food companies. In today's webinar, we will focusing on why food and beverage companies should consider deeper digitalization of their laboratories and what is needed to successfully design and implement such a strategy. We will also briefly explore how laboratory equipment, software, and service providers like Mettler-Toledo can support this process. I'm very happy to have with us today Hadassah Zolliker and Marco Blumenthal from Zweifel Chips and Snacks, and last but not least, Philipp Osterwalder from OneLimbs. Thank you very much for coming and welcome.
Thank you, Daniel.
I will begin by introducing our guests in more detail. Let me start by Hadassah. Hadassah Zolliker is the lead of quality assurance at Zweifel. Hadassah's role involves managing quality control from raw materials to final products, as well as initiating various quality control improvements. In recent years, she has led out on the design and implementation of the laboratory's digitalization program. Let me go ahead with Marco Blumenthal from the same company. He is the head of quality management at Zweifel, where his role involves developing the quality standards for producing and monitoring performance and compliance. Marco has worked with Zweifel over 13 years and has seen the company evolve and grow significantly and introduce a wide range of efficiency programs ranging from lean manufacturing to lab digitalization. Let me tell more about the company Zweifel. Zweifel Chips and Snacks is Switzerland's predominant chip and snack manufacturer and brand. The company was founded in 1958 and currently employs 470 people. 180 members of staff work at the company's production site in Spreitenbach. Zweifel generates approximately 300 million Swiss francs in revenue each year and is family-owned. I also would like to introduce my next guest, Philipp Osterwalder. Philipp, you are the founder and CEO of OneLimbs, which is a cloud-based platform that helps laboratories to both streamline and automate their quality processes. With a background as a lab technician in the pharmaceutical, biotech, and food industry laboratories, Philipp identified a widespread reliance on manual paper-based workflows in many industries outside of pharma and set out to change this. OneLimbs also operates as a consultancy firm, helping labs to analyze, optimize, digitalize, and automate their data streams and lab process. Okay, now I have also to introduce myself. My name is Daniel Fuchs, and I'm a team leader in skills development and training for global sales and service within our lab tech business unit, one of the biggest by Mettler-Toledo. I have worked in various roles with Mettler-Toledo over the last more than 33 years, and I'm strongly interested in the role and impact of digitalization and automation, both within manufacturing and laboratory operations. Now, my first question, I think I heard Marco, I would say the first question would be perfect for you. Please describe what prompted you in your quality control lab to start looking more closely at digitalization for your daily operations.
Yes, almost 10 years ago, we started with the introduction of a management execution system called MES in our production plant in Spreitenbach. So the question raised in our lab if we should move away from paper and Excel sheets in that day and move to a lab information system. So for the laboratory, we were needed a makeover. This led to the question if we should go along with the existing MES program or shall we start looking for an alternative system? A second important point is that we wanted to collect and consolidate all the data from the lab, and additionally to safeguard these data sets for future evaluations. So this is very difficult to do with a database on paper or different Excel sheets.
Just a question for clarification. What exactly means MES programs or program? Is this your production system or something?
This is our management system for all the production plants. So for the fryers, for the packaging lines, all the planning, the daily planning, everything is doing through this management execution system. So this is really the brain of our production plant.
Hadassah, where did you begin with the digitalization strategy?
So as Mark already said, we started thinking about digitalization over 10 years ago. Certainly at that time, paper was more convenient. However, with the introduction of tablets and laptops for everyone, we were empowered to take that crucial step of moving towards digitalization. Our focus was on implementing a LIMS system. We actually tested various systems, but found that these were often too large and too expensive for a medium-sized company as we are. We became aware of one LIMS, so Philipp's company actually, through an advertisement, and we were able to view the system in a comparable laboratory of a different food company. And finally became assured that this was the right LIMS system for us to implement.
So when I understand rightly, one LIMS helped you to, let's say, to go and get a demonstration by this by one of the existing one LIMS users. I think this was Migarna Micro Group.
Yeah, it was Migarna actually. Yeah, we did that with all the systems we were like taking into consideration to just see how others are working with those systems. And we did the same with one LIMS, and it really helped us to see like how people work with it, how it could look like in our lab, and got convinced that it was the right system.
Okay, and from the MES side, you had also some requirements. What a LIMS provider should be able to deliver?
Yeah, there was actually the question if MES could meet the requirements we needed in the lab. So we were like checking first the MES system, because we had that system already in the production, but it was too hard to like put all the requirements into MES. That would have been quite a lot of time consuming for programming and everything. So we were like looking for a similar or like a different system that could meet our requirements.
Thank you. Philipp, drawing on your wider experience, why do you think it is important for labs in the food and beverage industry to consider and embrace digitalization?
It's a fundamental question. So I want to give the answer with 4 major points, which I also face and experience the last 2 decades. Based on laboratory digitalization. So the first point is to free up scientists, lab technicians, to do more analysis, to work more through samples, to do maybe more research on methods or research and development of new products. So that leads also to a higher value of the laboratory, of the quality control laboratory itself, and brings also an added value to the company. That's kind of the first point, to get less documentation. The second point is that there are a vast amount of data that is produced in a laboratory on a daily basis, and 95 to 99% of all of this data are not used, but could be used for increase the product quality, increase production processes, or also get into faster decisions. The third point is the increasing of more regulatory requirements that leads to more documentation. That also leads to the first point that the highly paid specialists and the lab technicians are time consuming and use their time for more paperwork, manual calculations, manual data handling, instead of doing analytics in the laboratory. And the last point is also digitalization in lab is a very important point related to be and to build resilience. So I went to a nut producer in South Germany last week, and they told me that they had 10 years ago roughly 5 to 7 suppliers and had 15 products. And today they have to manage 250 suppliers and had around about 120 different products. So that increases a lot of documentation, increases specification, and also supplier validation. And this can lead to, done by manual processes, leads to hours, works, weeks to do all of that stuff. This is there are some key benefits of considering digitalization in laboratories.
And based on Zweifel, what was so your situation when you started with Zweifel? As you said, one of the steps is to be sure what kind of data they have and for what they use it.
There's also a big point. One is the habit in the laboratory, and also the convenient to start using paper-based raw data sheets and collect your data on paper base. And the next thing would be to use it in Excel to collect all of your laboratory data. And most of the laboratories stick with this solution. So I'll always tell that our biggest competitor in this market is Excel, because it's just convenient to use it. On my honest experience and my honest, to be true, it's not the right tool to keep all your quality and product data and to evaluate it. So
good. So my next question to you is, what are the common pain points or challenges that you see to quality control labs struggling with, and how could digitalization address these challenges?
I already mentioned one of these is the habits and the convenience.
I think so.
So the two most heard sentences related to force laboratory digitalization is, we have always done it like this. So this is the first one. And the second one, it works. Why we should change? Never change a running system. And this is kind of an excuse, in my point of view, to not develop and also not to make these processes even better, and to rethink what kind of the goal and what's the starting point of the processes. And this is kind of also a basic thing to have the mindset to innovate and to rethink already used processes that are in places. Most of the companies grow organically, and they just build their processes as they are to fit their needs at the certain scenarios. But over time, they have to be improved, related to performance, efficiencies, to very fast changing market scenarios, or also requirements from regulatory side, or from clients, customers, from suppliers. This is also a big and important point. And another thing is to related to the challenges that most of the companies use paper or quality control laboratories use paper and Excel spreadsheets, and there are a lot of important data in it which are spread within multiple sources. So if you're looking for, let's say, for a batch traceability, you need a lot of time to search through all of the data to find what you're looking for. Another one is, it's time consuming and highly effort to evaluate those data into trend analysis and chart controls, to also use it then afterwards for predictive quality control, which is a topic maybe we come later to. This is also a big issue, and this leads to one main solution to have all your quality, product, and also production data managed in one centralized, structured, and also traceable database.
Sorry for interrupting. The point about the dashboards and the KPI tracking, I can really completely agree. And also in my lab, we really invest time to identify, what is the right KPI? Is it really an important one? Often we have the tendency to define KPIs which are nice to have, but not really a must. And the second is, what is the best way to create this KPI? So let's say to measure this KPI easy and fast as possible, ideally from in my point, from the lab technician, right? Also that it's immediate, not that it takes always a half day to measure this KPI, and then we have a 2-minute discussion, is it good or not? Also, this is often what we try here. Also, let's say, sometimes I think we do that first of all yearly to rethink about, is this the right dashboard with the right KPIs? And second, it takes sometimes months that we have a finalized dashboard. We have temporary fast KPIs and dashboard, but then I would say it really makes sense to invest time. Is what we measure useful and makes that sense? So it's a little bit also what I heard from your statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very good point. I can rely on.
Please go ahead. I think you also mentioned in our pre-discussion something about unalignment teams, right? What can you say here?
Is also a big topic related to the laboratory team itself, that if we starting an implementation project, the first question or the first research we want to find out is what's kind of the motivation, what's their why they want to digitalize, why they want to implement the LIMS. Because for us, it's important to find the source of the motivation and to try to spread them all about the team, to find a champion, to find also an early adapter in the team, because that's the basic of the successful digitalization project, to have the right mindset and also to infect all the other team members to rethink and also to align, because then you get the fully commitment. Always a digitalization project is always a change in the team, and before it gets better, there is a lot of mess and stuff going wrong, and the team has to be committed and aligned to go through this kind of digitalization storm before it clears out and they see the real benefits, and the system they're implemented helps them and supports them in their daily work. So free up their time, that they can more focus on their value adding work on daily business.
I think it's a famous phrase which often was repeated from Peter Drucker, so far I'm right, culture eats strategy before breakfast. And I also learned this digitalization or the digital transformation journey, which is fantastic in the beginning. We start ideally with a great event, and then we come soon in the valley of dilemma. And then it's coming the hard work to go up, and honestly, sometimes it takes years. So now I would be interested to hear from Zweifel how you see it now as a Haddad. So when it's correct, my next question would be now, what wins and challenges have you experienced since you started this digitalization journey? Because you are the digitalization manager by Zweifel. So I'm really happy now to hear. So let's say, since you started, where you are at the moment with wins and challenges.
So I would say I start with wins. I mean, Philipp mentioned a lot of our struggle as well. I mean, we had several paper spreadsheets, Excels and stuff. And we see clearly a win in that all the data is now in one place. It's structured. It looks the same. It's quite easy for people to work with. Now they learned like the digital way of working. And it's also traceable. So we see like what was going on with the sample we sent to the lab. and also for statistics. So I mean, now we can easily see, like, if we have a sample that we measure multiple times, if there's a change in the samples we get. Beforehand, we had to like analyze paper, put it in an Excel sheet, and then do the trend analysis. And now that's way easier, less time consuming. Yes, and also that all the people are using the same system, because beforehand we had someone using paper, the other one was using Excel, and then finding out which result goes into which system was also quite a challenge we were facing. So we see a lot of wins, but I would say challenges we were facing was like the preparation needed quite some time, because it also needs kind of to think in new ways, because people are used to Excel and everything, and working digitally needs to, it's different working digitally than with paper and Excel. So we also took some time to prepare it, to evaluate how we want to do it, because I mean, how we did it on Excel worked on Excel, but we needed to rethink to work it in OneLIMS to get the best way. And I would also say the challenges, as we said, was like getting people used to work digitally, and like having the patience with the people to let them gain the experience, to like do all the beginner mistakes to get like a running system in the end.
I think you mentioned by challenges fixing things as a lot of time, and I remember you also mentioned you have lean manufacturing, and I saw how you do lean manufacturing, and normally it depends how the maturity degree is of lean manufacturing is. When something happens, and this can always happen, then ideally they have a separate team, so it's a predefined time how an operator can try to solve it by himself. If he can't solve, then he needs immediate to contact the specific team members. Did you that on a similar way to fixing these things? So let's say that the lab staff was not absorbed. Sometimes this can take hours, right, to fix something. Was it similar organized from your experience with lean manufacturing? Or maybe the beginning not, and then later yes? What is your answer here, Hadassah?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, as I said, to evaluate properly what you need, because otherwise, if you're like in 1 year times, you thought, oh, I should have done that differently in the system, to like redo it just needs quite the same amount of time again, because then you have to rethink the process again.
Firefighting.
And we were actually, I think we were implementing a test system quite early on, so people could like try it again, like how they would work in the future. And they could give us feedback, because it's the people that are working on daily basis with the system, so they have to see if it's working for them. And it's really important, or I think it's really important to like take their feedback as well early on in the process to find the best way. Because I mean, I'm working in the office most of the time, and people are working in the lab, and it's a different kind of work, and also my thinking is different kind of from theirs, and to like take into consideration all the people, so you get like new ideas as well.
If you identified an incident, is it an advantage you have a provider like OneLIMS, which is close, as in the region available? Or is it that this doesn't matter? In most cases anyway, it can be solved via remote?
I would say it's mostly done remote, but it's clearly that, I mean, that's also a big win for us, that Philipp and his team is easy available. I mean, I called them in the beginning several times, because maybe, I mean, I had to learn it as well. So I had to like figure out if I'm doing it correctly, or if I should do it, if it's the system that has an error, or if I'm just not working it like properly. Yeah.
Good, thank you. Marco, how do you measure success? What has improved, or is your also upper manager, your CEO asking, okay, what is now the benefit for the company? Where are you now in this situation? How do you measure success?
Yeah, for sure, our CEO is asking. But let's say to measure success, this can be sometimes a little bit difficult, especially when you introduce a new software. But I think we still made a lot of very positive experiences. Especially what Philipp was mentioning before, with one limbs, all the people know exactly what they have to do with every different products. They know exactly which parameters do they have to measure, where do they have to put their data. So everything is in one place. In one hit, you can find all the specific data to one product. What we also face is that we need much less time to prepare statistics and then the related reports, which we made on a monthly and half-year base. We are much more time efficient because everything is nicely organized, especially when we are looking for these analytical data results. So all data is in one system and not spread around different papers and softwares. And finally, I can say that it's difficult to say how much money we saved, but out of quality, it's really a big success, and we save time in the lab. So it's we can really say it's all over. It's really a success to introduce these systems.
Lean manufacturing, as often the result depends of the level as a company introduced that they are extreme lean. I really want to avoid that people thinking is here lean means just faster working. It is really work smarter, not harder. It's one of the slogans. But also I realized that often in the production they are, let's say, because lean I think is speed and quality what you can reach. And then when we look into the lab, then often there are sometimes gaps. Gaps means like as also by Zweifel, you have your shift working, and sometimes in some laboratories, the lab is not working every shift. So they have to wait that the batch release can go ahead if the lab people come back the next day. So how you organize that, or let's say when I would ask you plant manager, I know him, yeah, thanks to you, Marco, Christoph. Maybe can he also agree with you and say, yes, we have realized now, thanks when it was now established, the LIMS approach in your lab, that also now they see results. I think that would be a good way to measure quantitative. Also, is that the production people would agree and say, wow, we see also a significant better improvement compared to the whatever you had before, right?
Yes, absolutely. I can fully agree on that. It's how you mentioned, it's not that with one LIMS that people are working faster. In contrary, there is much more, let's say, it's much more quiet in the lab because not everybody is running around because everybody knows exactly what he has to do because one LIMS is showing you the way what you have to do in with your samples. And so the results, when you put the results in this one LIMS system, it is immediately available for everybody who is searching results in that system. What we are now planning is that we are going to bring one LIMS closer to the MES system, that even more the people can have the results almost in real time. Mm-hmm. So it's everybody's profiting out of this system, not with running faster, but working smarter.
That sounds really great. I think you have it really good implemented. By the way, years ago, I had a lab which was introducing our software LabX, which is easy to connect to software like LIMS from OneLIMS, because the printer was too loud. And that's why they was forcing to transfer to implement digitalization, because they prefer to have a silence lab. It was a development lab, research and development lab. Oh yeah, that's another story. Philipp, what are the first steps or fundamentals that a lab should undertake when starting a digitalization journey?
Think about the noise your printers are doing.
Yes, true. Take care. Not said that it's a Mettler printer, by the way. So we should take care that we not start rumors. Okay.
Nice one.
More or less, I have two questions. As I said, what would be the first step from you as a provider? And the second question would be a little bit, in your view, what is the best way for a lab to measure success from digitalization?
Good questions. From my point of view, the very first thing which every lab team or lab manager can do by themselves is to map the current state of the processes, to understand the operations, how it works, the processes, understand the data streams, where the relevant data is coming from, how it's compiled and formatted, and where it's going in which kind of format. So to understand the processes, the data streams, and also the connectivity of the system, of a probably future digital system, and also the agility of the team. So how it works together, what kind of information they have to share, on which kind of basis they share this information. So to lay out kind of a process map and quantify them. How many samples per day, per week? How much time it costs to document the sample information? How much time to label? How much time to generate reports based on test reports or certificate of analysis? And then the second step is to define the goals. What do you want to reach? You want to increase the overall performance. I want to increase the sample throughput of the team. Want to decrease the overall quality or analysis costs. There are several goals and also motivations lab teams or lab managers want to reach. And for us, it's very important to understand the peoples on the bench. So the lab technicians who in the future work with the digital solution, what kind of their pains and their needs. And on this other level, what's kind of the goal and the motivation of the lab manager or the overall manager level to also combine those understandings, pains and challenges, and also goals to then deliver based on them a proper solution.
Yes, true. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. When it's okay, Hadassah, I would like to come back to you. What are the next steps you will be undertaking in terms of for the digitalization your lab?
I think as Marco already said, it's like combining the different system we have with OneLIMS. For example, MES or our ERP system. So we have like a connection and maybe also automatic transfer of data. That's definitely a next step we're taking into consideration.
By the way, you mentioned the equipment. How you ensure that you, let's say, when now the time is going ahead, that you are always, let's say, sure what the market delivers about technology, what is state of the art, so that you, let's say, can upgrade the current approach? Also, let's say also from, as you mentioned now, from an analyzer's perspective, as a manufacturer of an analyzer, or like an equipment manufacturer, as Mettler also is, like for balances, how are you researching that now your equipment providers, or as we said, software like OneLIMS, whenever they have a new innovation that you are looking for, is this something what we can take over to make the next step? You know, you also mentioned lean manufacturing, lean thinking, continuous improvement process. how you ensure that this, at the end, how do you link this lean thinking now in this digitalization transformation?
Good
Maybe
question.
that's a simpler question.
I mean, the thing is that, for example, some devices, because they're also quite got in years, they're not on the state of the art like. So I mean, we have to keep in mind when we buy when we have to like replace devices in the lab to like check what is the current state of art and what we need to like enable these connections between one LIMS or the system and the devices in the lab. That's definitely one thing we have to keep in mind, and even like the price to like see what is best for the lab, what's the benefit, and to take that into consideration.
What about automation? Everywhere we have more or less two topics at the moment, digitalization or automation. I think automation sometimes is the feeling in companies like you, or small and medium-sized enterprises. Let me stay by food and beverage, but could be also chemicals, bulk chemicals, fine chemicals, specialty chemicals. They think we not have so much output or the throughput that it makes sense to automate this, robotic systems, robotic arms, very famous. You see in the background of my wallpaper, Mettler has also cooperation with third-party providers like ABB. But I see again from the lean thinking that often automation can help to reduce human errors, because the fact is we are humans and we make errors. And if someone as you have from the production, maybe at the line, batch controls or whatever, then I think sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just 2 or 3 samples. Your shift worker could just put on a, as we call it, carousel, the sample, and then he's going back to work and not stay as an idle time, as a waste in the front of the device. And are you also thinking about this kind of technology trends, automation in your lab, independent that you have not hundreds of samples per day, so just maybe 2 or 3? Is this thinking about that?
Yeah, that's definitely things we're thinking about, and we're we're currently on a let's say on a journey to like see what is possible and what is not possible, or what just needs time. I mean, the digitalization started, as we said, years ago, and it took us time to like find the right system. And I just think it's good to or it needs wisdom kind of to know like when to move on with automatization, because you found the right system or the right type of automatization. So it is a real benefit for the people, for the lab. And if it's like not on the time, then you better wait. Or maybe, if it's also time consuming again. So if you need to let people have time to rethink how they work, to see where automation is a good step forward.
Yeah, maybe I can add, I guess you have to check this also for every parameter on your products or your samples you want to analyze. I mean, when you do an analyze maybe 1 or 2 twice a day on 2 samples, maybe it's not really worth to have a robot helping you. But when you are working 10 or 15 samples with an analyze time of 1 hour, it's better to have an automated system running through the night. So it's maybe it's difficult to have it in general, but
yes.
You have to check it from parameter to parameter.
Yeah. I think I agree. So first of all, what I mean couldn't be a robotic system, but can be also something on a quite lower level. But by the way, I think sometimes it's good when more than one expert is sitting around the table, you know, this famous word round table. So are you also sometimes, let's say, going to round table sessions where many different providers, not from the same device, also I not want to say 6 different LIMS providers, let's say your favorite provider like OneLIMS and your favorite lab equipment providers sitting around a table and then discuss what they could improve as next. Because when I listen to you, Marco, as also to you, Hadassah, and as well to Philipp, then I see a lot of possibilities what we can do. But first we need to understand what your needs are. And then when we sit together, then we can really create very clever ideas to support you need, hey, again, we are a medium-sized company, and what is next step of progress we can do? Is this something realistic that you did you something like that, or is it something what you would say that could be welcome?
Yes, I fully agree on this. That's why, how I also mentioned before, it's a big advantage to have the people of OneLIMS close to our company. That, I mean, nowadays you can meet through Teams or whatever way, but to sit really physically on the same table that Philipp is working in our lab and also judge our systems and how everything is running. So he can bring his external ideas into our lab, which is a big advantage, or have people from Mettler there showing us what could be the new equipment, what are the new possibilities. So to meet at the place where Gemba is, this is still, I guess, the best option.
Because, you know, in this continuous improvement process or Kaizen, it's often that you have actions improve, but then it will be harder and harder to improve again. And then often what I learned in my lean certification is be open to completely change the direction, which needs really to be a brave heart, and innovation. Innovation can help, new innovations. So now when you are from the point as you are, and this is a question which I want to place first to you, Marco, and later then to Philipp, what would you tell us an advice or words of wisdom to another company? Where is thinking about digitalization journey of their labs? What is what you would recommend?
Yes, I think sorry, the most important advice I can give is, but you can hear this many times, but seriously, take time to prepare properly the introduction of such a system. This is very, very important. To make it fast track is very dangerous. You're danger to make mistakes. Maybe the planning of your process is not properly in this new system, and then afterwards to work all these mistakes, maybe to have a shutdown of your system for a longer period. This takes much more time afterwards. So take a little bit more time in advance. This will really helps you define all the process, define what do you want to really do with the system, and then set it like this, save you a lot of time. And then, yes, the experience we made is choose the right system. You can have a lot of different LIMS systems in different sizes, very expensive, some of them. So choose the right one for your lab, for your all your surrounding, that you have the right size software. Yes, and finally, what we mentioned before, try to go to visit other companies working already with such a system and ask the people there who work with the system, what are their experiences.
Good. Philipp, and what is your answer? What would you recommend when people start to think about digitalization and maybe also to go in touch or let's say to have a new limbs or to think to have a limbs. Because often I realized when I was in the labs as a sales rep that 5 years later again they was thinking about the limbs, but there was no limbs. Maybe what is the reason that they wasn't able to go ahead?
A lot of companies, they approach us. They want just to, or had the idea, they want to implement a LIMS, or maybe in other department, any other kind of solution, and they get rid and solved of all their problems because they implemented a software, a new one, and this is cleaning out all the problems and they can work much more efficient. But that's not the reality. We face the same. So there's a lot more than just to implement the software. You can create and develop the best features for lab technicians, but if no one using it in the lab, because it's not convenient for them, so no one is using it. And related to your question, so the key recommendation is find out where you want to go and where you are right now, and define then the gaps. So what we do with our lab check workshops in every first phase of a LIMS implementation is to have an understanding of the current state. Start with an analysis, an assessment, based on what we use also Lean Six Sigma tools, like a value stream map or a SIPOC. We also do multi-moment analysis to understand the habits and the amount of work they do on daily basis and what time is needed for them. And the second part is then optimize. Optimize the processes, operations, and the data streams, because in English there's the difference between digitize, just copy the current processes and digitalize them, but mostly there's no gain in effectiveness related to the process. They're just a little bit more efficient, just digitalized and then maybe automized. But there could be error-prone states in it, and mostly or often, like kind of lab processes are not streamlined. They are highly complex and a network of different decision makers and different data that is used for a final validation or approval of a product. So this is also an important point between digitization and digitalization. And we force and educate our clients to rethink about their processes, to digitalize, to gain an efficiency and an effectiveness of their optimized processes, digitalize, and in the last phase, automate them. Because you can also automate crappy processes, to say that in a sell-up way. And there's no long-term increase, no sustainable increase and better performance. Just to think about what we can optimize and then automate, digitalize and automate their streamlined processes afterwards. And my words of wisdom is, so modern food labs don't just test and analyze samples. In the meantime, they manage risk, reputation, and also regulation today. That's a very big shift.
Thank you. Hey, from the time I see we are coming to the end, and let me begin to wrap up this webinar. If we look out to the future, and this is a question again to you, Philipp, first of all, how quickly do you think emerging technologies, very popular the last 2-3 years is AI, will have an impact on digitalization of food and beverage labs?
That's a very interesting question. So related to the trends, there are increasing more faster adaptations. So I expect more digital solution in the next 3 to 5 years. There will be more micro software, more specialized software, which can be implemented very quick without a vast amount of training and onboarding time, because they are built mainly on the experience of software as a service, and also through the experience and introduction of AI. So that they can be set up very quickly and also can be used without a big amount of training. And you mentioned already, Daniel, the emerging trends like using AI or even IoT or even more cloud. So AI, what we also get asked a lot, do we have some AI features or AI modules in our OneLimbs platform? And my answer to that is, are you ready to use AI?
Yeah, and
this
my
gets a lot
answer
of
would, sorry for interrupting, my answer is also not everything you need to solve with AI, you can just solve it with a good formula or algorithm. Aber ja, ist okay, ja.
Yeah.
And
yes, and the database, so the basics must be right and correct, as we mentioned in this webinar a lot of times, so that they have to be a data structure and clean up data to feed the AI model, to train them on the well data, and then the output is reasonable and good. But otherwise, if you have crappy data, you put in an AI model, you get crappy results, and no one wants to use that. So there's also, sorry,
no, sorry.
Just my last point is also that there's even more a trend and also better experience about integration. That in the lab digitalization space, there are a lot of new trends to have standardized integrations, APIs, and the possibility to connect. Because this is also one of our vision at OneLimbs, to have in the future, near future, plug and play devices, and also gets standardized connectivity to ERP systems, or what Marco mentioned at the beginning, MES systems, to also cover and track production information parameters. And that will be a very powerful tool then to collect all the quality product and production data, and then train the model to predict quality control, to predict trends, or to detect also anomalies of any kind, microbiology or pesticides, something like that. And this will occur in the near future.
I think there's also a challenge for all these lab equipment providers because Marco and Hadassah, they have in their lab different generation of lab equipment manufacturers, very old sometimes, and it's not so easy to replace these instruments, when I'm right, Marco, because you don't not use it often, but it makes also not sense to have to buy a new one when it works, right? And,
yes, that's right, yes.
Exactly.
What I mentioned before, it depends a little bit how much data you generate with such an instrument, and then to decide if it's really worth to move over to the newer equipment, maybe when you use it once a week.
Or your system, as you invested, and I remember rightly, then like the HPLC takes a bit longer to say now all these aberrations are gone. That's why also I think providers, as this is now sounds a little bit like advertising, but Mettler also has this challenge. We have a lot of different generations of instruments and balances, and so what we offer is a solution which is typical from a system integrator. This is this LabX, where we take over the responsibility to have the connection from our equipment to the software, and from the software depends what is needed, like to the LIMS or ERP or whatever, like a CDS, whatever is needed. Then this is, so let's say, the way as we are going to avoid that providers like you with OneLimbs or an ERP provider has the challenge then whenever the provider has an update, again, nothing is working, right? So this is, so I would say to work closer is important. This was also a little bit the messages I heard now from you, Philipp, right? And also from you, Marco and Hadassah.
Yep.
Good. Hey, we come to the last question. It's a bit a funny question, and it is just simple. What is your favorite flavor of Zweifel chips or snacks? You know, the crisps are very famous here in Switzerland, but also there are some other fans of crisps worldwide. So I saw when I was traveling around the world very sometimes strange flavors, like in Scotland, haggis. Maybe not someone knows not what this is. It's a special meat. What is your flavor, Hadassah, when it's allowed to ask?
Yeah, definitely. When I think about it, I would say it's the wave French fries. But actually, while working at Zweifel, for me, it's the unseasoned warm chips directly from the line.
Yeah. Okay.
You found them in, you wouldn't find them in any store, but they're really delicious.
Yeah. Sounds very special. Marco, what is your flavor?
Yes, my favorite is Cat's chips, salt and pepper. This is kettle style potato chips, like made like in the old days, because this really shows the nice taste of a salty chip with very nice frying aromas, and the pepper yes spice up your life. And
Good.
what I'm really happy and I'm really looking forward is in a few weeks we will introduce a new chip taste, call it Knoblauchbrot. So it's a garlic bread type taste. Yes, watch out for this. You will love it for sure.
Good, good. It will be nice. Philip,
maybe then like garlic bread will be my new favorite. So related to the chips itself, it's to be honest, poulet improbable.
Okay, chicken.
The chicken, yes.
Yeah. Good.
Very famous. And as a snack, the pita cracker rosemary.
Yeah,
I love them. I'm a really fanboy of them.
Yeah, it sounds really delicious. I'll say finalize. My one is just simple. I think it's your #1 brand or the flavor paprika. It's really very good one.
The XXL pack.
Yes. Hey, and so let's brings us to the end of our webinar today with Zweifel Chips and Snacks with Hadassah Zolliger and Marco Blumenthal, as well with Philipp Osterwalder from OneLimbs. I would like really to say thank you very much for your participation, for all your time to prepare this webinar, and that you shared your experience with us and with this audience now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks also.
Good. Then I wish you a good day, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Daniel. Have a great day.
See you.